Have you ever wondered why being good often leaves you overlooked, ignored, or even taken advantage of? We grow up believing that kindness will always be rewarded, that goodness is the key to respect and success. Yet time and time again, reality shows us a darker side. The people who give the most often receive the least, while those who play by different rules seem to rise to power. You've probably felt this imbalance before, working hard, helping others, staying honest, only to watch someone less good advance further, faster. Why does this happen? And more importantly, what is the hidden cost of being good? Niccolo Machiavelli, one of history's most controversial thinkers, dared to reveal the uncomfortable truth that society often hides. He understood that while goodness is praised, it is rarely rewarded in the way we imagine. In fact, in his eyes, being too good could be dangerous, even destructive. He wrote that it is not necessary to truly be virtuous, but only to appear so. That small distinction between appearance and reality may hold the answer to why your genuine goodness sometimes leaves you vulnerable. What you're about to hear may challenge everything you thought you knew about morality and power. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you sacrificed your own needs to keep the peace, only to realize later that your silence cost you respect? How often have you chosen to forgive, hoping it would build stronger bonds, but instead, it gave others permission to disrespect you again? These aren't accidents. They are patterns, and they reveal the dangerous illusion of goodness that Machiavelli spent his life dissecting. This is not to say that kindness has no place, but when kindness becomes your only strategy, you open the door for others to take advantage of you. And that's exactly where Machiavelli's dark truths step in. He forces us to ask questions most people are too afraid to consider. Is it better to be loved or feared? Is true goodness a strength, or is it a weakness disguised as virtue? And what happens when you cling to goodness without the balance of power? Fica comigo até o final, because what we are about to uncover will not only explain why goodness can backfire, but also how you can transform this understanding into real power. The hidden cost of being good is greater than most people realize, and Machiavelli's perspective may just change the way you see yourself, others, and the very structure of society. And it all begins here. And as we dive deeper into this idea, I want to pause for just a moment and bring you into the conversation. These aren't just abstract theories or distant philosophies. This is about how you live, how you're treated, and how you choose to respond to the world around you. If this resonates with you, if you've ever felt the sting of giving too much or the frustration of being overlooked because of your goodness, I'd love to hear about it. Share your experience in the comments, because your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read right now. And while you're here, take a second to like this video. It may seem small, but that simple action tells the algorithm that these ideas matter, that conversations like this deserve to reach more people who are searching for clarity and strength. If you've found value so far, consider subscribing as well. That way, you won't miss the next chapter of this journey into psychology, philosophy, and the timeless wisdom of thinkers like Machiavelli. Your participation is what keeps this community alive. Every comment, every like, every new subscriber helps create a space where these powerful truths can spread further, touching lives in ways we can't always see. So if this topic is speaking to you, let your voice be part of it, because together we're building not just a channel, but a circle of people committed to understanding themselves and the world on a deeper level. Now, let's continue, because the hidden cost of being good is about to reveal something even more unsettling. Machiavelli was not the kind of thinker who sugarcoated reality. He was a man who looked straight into the darker corners of human behavior and dared to describe what he saw, even if it made people uncomfortable. Living during the turbulent Renaissance, surrounded by betrayal, shifting alliances, and ruthless ambition, he understood something most people still struggle to accept today. Goodness alone is never enough to survive, let alone to thrive. Where others preached morality as the highest ideal, Machiavelli exposed the hidden mechanics of power, showing that behind every act of kindness there might be strategy, and behind every promise, an intention far different from what appears on the surface. This is why his work feels so timeless. He pulled back the curtain and revealed the backstage of politics and human interaction, where appearance often matters more than reality. His lens was not about how the Yui world should be, but about how it truly operates when masks are stripped away. That is why his writings unsettled so many, because they forced people to confront the uncomfortable truth that virtue without strength often collapses under the weight of ambition, greed, and manipulation. His perspective breaks the illusion that goodness guarantees reward and instead shows us that every decision carries a hidden cost. Think about how often society tells us that if we stay kind, patient, and selfless, everything will work out. Yet the history Machiavelli witnessed told a different story. Leaders who trusted too much, who gave away their power in the name of fairness, often fell the hardest. Those who understood the subtle balance between appearing good and being strategic, however, managed to hold influence far longer. This doesn't mean that Machiavelli dismissed morality entirely, but he treated it as a tool, something to be used with precision rather than worn as a permanent mask. That shift in mentality is powerful because it changes the way we look at our own lives, at the impact of our choices, the hidden truths behind our struggles, and the transformations waiting when we stop clinging to illusions. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because once you see the world through Machiavelli's eyes, you begin to realize how much of what we call goodness is shaped by perception rather than substance. Commenter A.E. This makes sense to me. Modern culture loves to celebrate kindness. From the time we are children, we hear endless lessons about sharing, forgiving, and putting others first. Movies, books, and even motivational speeches remind us that goodness is the highest virtue, that selflessness is the ultimate path to respect and love. On the surface, it sounds noble, even inspiring, but if we look at the real world with honest eyes, the story doesn't always play out the way we were promised. People who are too good, too giving, and too trusting often find themselves overlooked, dismissed, or even taken advantage of by those who understand how to bend the system in their favor. And that is exactly the hidden cost that Machiavelli warned us about centuries ago. He saw that society thrives on appearances more than on substance. Someone who seems generous, even if their generosity hides a selfish motive, will often gain more admiration than a person who is genuinely good but lacks the ability to project it strategically. It is a strange paradox. Goodness in itself does not guarantee respect, but the performance of goodness often does. And this is where exploitation happens. Those who carry kindness like an open book are easy to read, easy to manipulate, and often treated as tools rather than equals. Meanwhile, those who master the art of appearing virtuous while keeping their true intentions hidden tend to climb higher, whether in politics, business, or personal relationships. This doesn't mean society completely ignores goodness. On the contrary, it praises it loudly because it creates a sense of order, a story we all want to believe. But beneath the praise lies a harsh reality. People who embody too much selflessness without strategy are often drained of their energy, their resources, and even their dignity. The irony is that the very culture that glorifies kindness rarely protects those who live by it too faithfully. Machiavelli understood this contradiction with ruthless clarity. For him, the key was not to abandon morality, but to treat it like a mask, something to wear when it serves a purpose, not something to sacrifice your entire strength upon. And when you recognize this, the world starts to look very different. You begin to notice how rewards are not evenly given, how appearances overshadow truth, and how the narrative of pure goodness hides deeper layers of power and control. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Machiavelli understood something that still unsettles us today. In a world shaped by ambition and perception, it is not necessary to be good, but only to appear good. This single principle is one of his most provocative revelations because it forces us to question everything we have been taught about virtue. Imagine for a moment the countless people who exhaust themselves trying to live up to the image of perfect kindness, believing that their sincerity alone will shield them from harm. Yet history, and perhaps your own life, shows that those who cling too tightly to genuine goodness often end up disarmed, exposed, and powerless in the face of ruthless competition. The mask of morality, as Machiavelli described it, is not about hypocrisy for its own sake. It is about survival in a society that rewards appearances more than reality. To appear good is to control perception, to project an image of trust, reliability, and virtue, even if behind that mask you are calculating, cautious, and unwilling to be exploited. This does not mean abandoning integrity altogether, but it does mean recognizing that goodness without strategy is fragile. When you display every ounce of your sincerity, you reveal your weaknesses, and when others see those weaknesses, they know exactly where to strike. Think of leaders who seemed almost saintly in public, admired for their charm and generosity, but behind closed doors they were decisive, strategic, even ruthless when necessary. Whether we like it or not, those are often the figures who last, because they understood the performance of virtue. Meanwhile, those who truly lived by uncompromising goodness often found themselves betrayed, overpowered, or forgotten. The hard truth is that morality, when worn as an open wound, attracts predators, but when morality is worn as a mask, it becomes armor, a way to disarm suspicion while preserving your real strength. This idea unsettles us because it clashes with our desire to believe that sincerity always wins. Yet Machiavelli challenges us to see the hidden truth. Goodness must be balanced with caution, and morality must sometimes be staged. When you stop obsessing over being genuinely good in every moment, you begin to reclaim the freedom to choose when and how to use your virtue, and that choice is where real power begins. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject. The cost of being overly good is rarely spoken about, yet almost everyone has felt it. In the workplace, it's the employee who always says yes, who covers extra shifts, who stays late to help others. At first, this generosity seems admirable, but over time it creates a dangerous pattern. Instead of being rewarded, they become the person everyone relies on, but nobody promotes. Their kindness turns invisible because it is expected, and their silence makes it easy for others to take credit for their efforts. The same happens in relationships, where one partner gives endlessly, hoping to prove their love, only to discover that their sacrifices are taken for granted. Instead of earning deeper respect, they often end up ignored or worse, resented for being too available. This is the hidden trap Machiavelli would have recognized instantly. When you are too good, you unintentionally teach others how to treat you. You send the signal that your needs can be placed second, that your boundaries can be crossed, that your voice does not carry the same weight as those who demand more. And in competitive environments, whether in business, politics, or even within families, this habit of self-sacrifice makes you vulnerable to manipulation. Those who are sharper, less hesitant, will seize the opportunities you give away and use them to their advantage. Consider politics, where leaders who cling to moral purity often struggle to survive. Their opponents, less bound by ideals, know how to exploit every opening, every moment of hesitation. The overly good leader appears noble but powerless, admired briefly and forgotten quickly. Meanwhile, the leader who balances appearances of virtue with decisive action earns both respect and influence. The lesson is clear. Being good without measure does not elevate you, it diminishes you. Machiavelli forces us to confront this uncomfortable truth. Overly good people risk becoming invisible in a world that rewards strength and strategy. Their intentions may be pure, but their impact is limited because they have surrendered control over how they are perceived and treated. And once you realize how much this shapes the course of your life, you begin to see goodness not as a guarantee of respect, but as a dangerous illusion when it is given without boundaries. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject. Machiavelli never dismissed goodness entirely. Instead, he redefined its purpose. To him, goodness was not a permanent state of being, but a tool, a resource to be used strategically. This is the essence of controlled goodness, the art of choosing when to be kind and when to withhold that kindness in order to maintain balance and respect. The mistake most people make is believing that constant generosity will eventually be rewarded. In reality, as Machiavelli observed, generosity without limits breeds dependence in others and weakness in yourself. But when kindness is measured and deliberate, it gains weight, impact, and authority. Think of it this way: if you give freely all the time, your actions lose their power. People stop noticing your sacrifices because they expect them. Yet if you hold back, if you reserve your goodness for moments that truly matter, its value multiplies. A leader who is strict most of the time, but occasionally shows compassion, is often respected far more than one who is endlessly forgiving. The first demonstrates control, while the second risks appearing naive. Machiavelli understood that sometimes denying kindness generates more influence than offering it without thought. In relationships, this principle is just as visible. When one partner always yields, always forgives, always gives, the relationship loses equilibrium. But when kindness is balanced with firmness, when forgiveness is paired with clear boundaries, The bond grows stronger because respect is preserved. Controlled goodness communicates strength. It says, "I choose to give, but I am not compelled to." That choice changes everything. In business too, this strategy plays out daily. A manager who never sets limits becomes overrun, but one who offers fairness selectively while enforcing rules with consistency builds a team that values their authority. The point is not to become cold or ruthless, but to recognize that kindness without control creates imbalance. Machiavelli would argue that true wisdom lies in timing, knowing when to give and when to withhold, when to smile and when to stay silent. Controlled goodness transforms kindness from a weakness into a force of influence. It allows you to protect yourself while still shaping how others perceive you. And once you begin to master this balance, you realize that goodness, when used with intention, is not just a virtue but a strategy. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Machiavelli's most famous and controversial statement is that it is safer to be feared than loved. At first glance, this sounds harsh, even brutal, but what he truly meant goes deeper than cruelty or intimidation. His point was that love is fragile, built on emotions that change quickly, while fear, when balanced with fairness, creates a more stable foundation of respect. People may admire goodness, but admiration alone does not stop betrayal. What prevents betrayal is the awareness that your strength has consequences, that kindness is not endless, and that you have the power to enforce boundaries when needed. Goodness without strength, on the other hand, often leads to weakness. A person who is endlessly forgiving, endlessly giving, may be loved for a time, but eventually they are taken for granted. Their love becomes cheap because it costs them everything and demands nothing in return. Without strength, goodness becomes an invitation to be overlooked, ignored, or exploited. Machiavelli saw this clearly in leaders who were admired but powerless, adored by the people, yet easily defeated because they lacked the edge to protect themselves. Now compare this to someone who combines strength with controlled goodness. This person is not feared for their cruelty, but respected for their authority. People may hesitate to cross them, not because they are tyrants, but because they know this person has limits that cannot be violated. When strength is present, goodness becomes a choice rather than an obligation, and that choice commands respect. A leader who is firm but occasionally merciful is valued far more than one who is endlessly merciful without firmness. The first inspires loyalty mixed with caution, while the second risks dissolving into irrelevance. The same principle applies in everyday life. In the workplace, a colleague who always says yes loses influence, but one who is reliable yet assertive earns trust and respect. In relationships, unconditional giving without boundaries leads to imbalance, but strength tempered with moments of kindness creates stability. Machiavelli reminds us that the goal is not to be feared or loved in isolation, but to master the balance where fear transforms into respect and goodness enhances that respect. When you understand this balance, you stop seeing goodness as a trap and start seeing it as a tool that works only when paired with power. And that is where the deeper truth begins to unfold. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. The truths that Machiavelli uncovered centuries ago are not confined to dusty history books. They play out vividly in our modern world. Look at business leaders who rise to the top. The ones who succeed are rarely the ones who try to please everyone or who say yes to every demand. Instead, they understand the power of strategic goodness. They know when to be generous with their employees or clients, but they also know when to draw firm lines. Their kindness is real, but it is measured, deliberate, and always balanced with authority. That is why their decisions carry weight. They are respected not simply because they are good, but because they embody strength while choosing carefully when to show goodness. In politics, the same lesson appears again and again. Leaders who rely solely on being liked often fall quickly, their popularity crumbling the moment they face real opposition. But those who project controlled strength, while sprinkling moments of compassion, tend to hold power longer. They appear approachable enough to inspire trust, yet firm enough to command obedience. This is Machiavelli's principle in action. Appearing good is useful, but being strategically good is what creates longevity. Even in everyday social interactions, these dynamics are clear. Think of the friend who is always available, who never says no. Over time, people begin to expect their help, and instead of earning admiration, they risk being treated as a convenience. Contrast that with someone who helps selectively, who offers support at the right time, but also guards their boundaries. Their generosity feels more meaningful, more respected, because it is rare and intentional. Strategic goodness makes others value your actions instead of taking them for granted. In relationships, too, this truth holds power. Partners who are endlessly forgiving may be loved at first, but eventually they risk losing their partner's respect. By contrast, those who combine warmth with firmness build bonds that last because they create balance. Love grows deeper when paired with respect, and respect grows when strength is evident. What Machiavelli revealed is not about abandoning kindness, but about refusing to let kindness be your only weapon. Those who master strategic goodness rise faster and stay longer, whether in boardrooms, parliaments, or personal lives, because they understand the truth hidden beneath appearances. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. The greatest transformation happens not on the outside, but within. Machiavelli's lesson about goodness is not simply about strategy in politics or leadership. It is about a fundamental shift in how you see yourself. Most of us are conditioned from an early age to believe that goodness means unconditional self-sacrifice, that to be virtuous is to give without limits, to forgive endlessly, to suppress our own needs so that others can feel comfortable. But this mindset, while noble on the surface, quietly erodes your strength. It leaves you exposed in a world where not everyone plays by the same rules. The inner shift begins the moment you realize that goodness is not an obligation, but a tool, something you can use deliberately, strategically, and with clarity of purpose. When you make this shift, everything changes. You no longer feel guilty for saying no because you understand that boundaries protect your dignity. You no longer fear being less liked because you recognize that being respected carries far more weight. Goodness stops being a mask you wear to please others and becomes a choice you control, applied when it truly matters. This mindset gives you power not by abandoning kindness, but by reclaiming ownership of it. Imagine walking into a room where you no longer need approval to feel secure. Your kindness is present, but it is not desperate. You choose when to extend it and when to hold it back. This balance makes you untouchable because others sense both your generosity and your strength. They cannot manipulate you with guilt or exploit your willingness to give because you have mastered the art of conscious power. That is the transformation Machiavelli hints at, moving from naive goodness that weakens you to conscious power that commands respect. This doesn't mean becoming cold or cruel. It means living with awareness, making decisions with intention rather than habit, and refusing to be drained by the illusion that constant sacrifice equals virtue. In truth, real virtue is measured by balance, the ability to be good without losing yourself in the process. And once you internalize this, you begin to walk differently, think differently, and act differently. Goodness becomes sharper, more impactful, and above all, undeniable. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Being good without strategy makes you weak. That is the uncomfortable truth Machiavelli forces us to face, and it is one many people resist because it challenges the way we were raised to think. We are told that kindness is always the answer, that patience and generosity will always lead to recognition. Yet life shows us again and again that this is not the case. Pure, unguarded goodness often leads to disappointment, betrayal, and silence, while those who combine strength with deliberate kindness move forward, respected and untouchable. The difference lies in awareness. Do you choose to live by the illusion that goodness alone is enough, or do you step into the deeper truth that power requires balance? This choice is not about abandoning your values or becoming ruthless in every interaction. It is about reclaiming control. It is about understanding that kindness has value only when it is paired with strength, and that respect is born not from endless giving, but from the ability to decide when to give and when to hold back. Machiavelli's wisdom does not ask you to betray who you are, but to see the world as it is, and to stop being blind to the way power operates in the shadows of everyday life. When you learn the hidden cost of goodness, you begin to make decisions differently. You stop giving for approval and start giving with intention. You stop seeing boundaries as harsh and start recognizing them as necessary. And most importantly, you stop letting others dictate your worth. In this way, goodness becomes sharper, more meaningful, and more respected because it comes from a place of conscious choice, not from naive sacrifice. So the question is yours to answer. Will you continue to carry the illusion that being endlessly good will protect you, or will you step into the strength of balancing goodness with power? That decision is what separates those who remain trapped from those who rise. Do you agree with Machiavelli that being good comes at a dangerous cost? Share your thoughts below. And if you want more timeless wisdom on power and psychology, make sure to subscribe so you never miss the next video. If you stayed with me until the very end, it probably means this message resonated with you on a deeper level. That's exactly why I invite you to subscribe, so you can keep exploring more of these powerful insights and never miss the next step in this journey. And if you really felt this conversation spoke to you, write in the comments, "I'm with you until the end." I'd love to see who made it here with me. Don't forget to like this video as well. It's a simple way to show that this kind of content matters and that the connection we've built today has value. And if you want to keep going, there's another video right here that complements what we've just explored. Click it and continue with me over there.